What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. Hope everyone's doing well and I hope you enjoyed today's video. We're going to start off with XRP for the first half of this video, and then during the second half we're going to dive into Casper with a bunch of detailed information that I put together. So first up, we've shared by blockchain backer the Nasdaq has created an all-time high price. In yesterday's video we showed that the Dow Jones, the S&P 500 as well as gold have all created an all-time high price. We also have the Nasdaq 100 index included in this list. And BCB shared that the Nasdaq is now less than 1% away from its 4.236 Fibonacci extension. We also have JT sharing this chart, and I think this is very important knowing that this is an election year and we typically see a lot of stimulus. Low is what's left to drain out of the Fed's reverse repo operations. This has been a huge tailwind for markets. It is set to be drained out by March. And he's betting that rate cuts happen a lot sooner than most people think, and I agree. Big picture, for really the first 2 quarters of this year, I think rate cuts are going to be very good for the market, typically leading to some good performance for the stock market, but we have a variety of indices that are already at all-time highs, and Bitcoin is yet to even create an all-time high. And so high level, when the Fed cuts interest rates in general, it becomes cheaper for companies to borrow money. And when it's cheaper to borrow money, this usually leads to consumer spending, but also more business investments, usually adding a lot more liquidity into the financial system. And we know that Raoul Pal has also shared many different charts showing the liquidity and the correlation between the Bitcoin price chart and how well the crypto asset class does when liquidity increases. So not financial advice, but this is one very interesting recipe that we have put together, and we're going to see how the crypto asset class performs this quarter. I'm betting, provided that Bitcoin can hold above this fair value gap for support, that we can get a big move to the upside. Okay, I want to run through this before we dive into XRP and then Casper. This is super important for the entire crypto asset class. So I'm not going to bore you with the terms that we've already covered from BCG and their estimate of 16 trillion by 2030 and 10% of global GDP being tokenized. We have other estimates for 2030. The market for tokenized assets could reach $10 trillion in a bull case and $3.5 trillion in the bear case. So firms like BCG and the WEF are estimating that 10% of global GDP will be tokenized. We can see the world's GDP, or the global GDP, here since 2017, growing from 81 trillion in 2017, and 6 years later, approximately 105 trillion. So in those 6 years, we saw an increase of over 28%. Today, in the beginning of 2024, the global GDP, or the worldwide GDP, is approximately 109 trillion. So starting from 109 and just adding even 2% year-over-year growth, keep in mind previously we were growing at a variety of rates, 2, 3, even 6%, that would take us to about 120 trillion. And over the past 6 years, we saw an increase of worldwide GDP of over 28%. If we grew by 20%, that would be about 130 trillion. So I'm just giving a big range or estimate of 120 to 130 trillion for global GDP by 2030. And of course, there are all types of concerns with global debt, black swans, etc. But here's a very interesting quote by the CEO of Casper Labs. 5 to 9% of worldwide GDP is just verifying that things are trustworthy. We can do that in an automated and intelligent manner using blockchain. So 5 to 9% of 120 trillion equates to 6 trillion to 10.8 trillion. If we used 130 trillion for worldwide GDP, that would take us up to the higher end, closer to 12 trillion. And this includes track and trace like supply chain, payments, financial services, identity, which is going to be huge with DIDs, Internet of Things, and then DePIN, or decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And for DePIN, this can be both digital or physical resource networks. And then of course, trading of global illiquid assets, all types of things, private equity, even patents or intellectual property. And remember that intangible assets represent 90% of the S&P 500's value, but patents, a large percentage of those intangibles, are underutilized and undervalued. 90% of the S&P 500's value, today's market cap is over 40 trillion, and 90% of that 40 trillion plus is over $36 trillion. With the tokenization of these globally illiquid assets, this would unlock trillions of dollars in value. Okay, and a few more important things. I promise we're going to go through XRP. I just want to make this comprehensive and add as much information as possible, because all of this is relevant to the entire crypto asset class, not just individual assets. We have all types of forecasts with DePIN going over the total addressable market. Things like AI, computation, wireless, energy. And I think it's important to compare the previous tech shifts that we've witnessed, so such as the rise of Linux, the operating software. Red Hat, the company, was the first company that commercialized Linux for business adoption. And following their acquisition by IBM, their market share for Linux went from 1 to 2% to about 90%, which is huge. And Linux now has 3 billion users today. And I expect to see something similar take place for the crypto asset class. We haven't even surpassed over 1 billion users. Last bull run, we were just over 400 million users. For blockchain to thrive, we need enterprise-grade products and professional services. So which layer 1s are going to be emerging as the red hat for the blockchain industry? Will it be Hedera? Will it be Avalanche, Solana, Sui, Sei, Casper, or a bunch of others that I didn't even name because there's a lot? Now, enterprise-grade blockchains, public and hybrid instances, they can be used by anyone. It is not just for an enterprise. What makes these networks enterprise-grade is they fit seamlessly with the existing tech stacks, so allowing easier integration into enterprise systems like their databases and their ERPs. So ERPs, and sorry about this picture, I uploaded a PNG with a transparent background. A lot of these tech providers and professional services firms like IBM, Cisco, and Accenture help with this integration. This is financial management, big data, project management, manufacturing, supply chain like track and trace, Internet of Things, CRMs, inventory, and more. So we talked about Linux, but let's also compare the rise of cloud. When cloud started, it was a complete joke. Everyone said, we don't need cloud, we're on-prem. But now fast forward to today, 99% of Netflix exists because of the cloud. And cloud computing only took off after the hybrid cloud was actually set up, so the best of both worlds. And in a recent report by Casper, over 600 C-level executives see a future in a hybrid blockchain, which affirms that public blockchain networks will play a role. Now, cloud was big, but it was pretty much about cost savings and efficiency. But blockchain does so much more than just that for cost savings. This tamper-proof record-keeping type of technology also provides revenue opportunities. Now we have this report discussing the blockchain technology market size, and I want to compare it to the crypto market cap at that time. So the global blockchain technology market size was estimated to be $4.8 billion in 2022, so under $5 billion. Predicted to be over $2,000 billion, or approximately $2.3 trillion by 2032, with a compound annual growth rate of over 85%. So here's the total market cap of the entire crypto asset class, and this purple rectangle is the year 2022. Remember, at this time, they said the global blockchain market was under $5 billion or $4.8 billion, but the entire market cap of the entire crypto asset class was significantly more, ranging from $700 billion to over $2.2 trillion. So this market cap of $720 billion to even $2.2 trillion is anywhere from 150 to over 450 times bigger than the global blockchain technology market size. So if they're estimating this number, 4.8 billion, to reach 2.3 trillion, that factor of growth is over 400, so over 400x growth. Now we have another one right here that's a little less crazy. This is the enterprise blockchain market, so approximately 4.9 billion in 2021 during the bull run. Predicted to reach 246 billion by 2030. That still shows growth of greater than 50 times bigger, 50x. And remember, when I'm showing these numbers, this is 4.8 billion in 2022, but the market cap was over 700 billion to over 2 trillion. So bottom line, when I see these numbers, a difference of 50x, 150x, or 450x, how big could the crypto asset class actually become, and how much value could its market cap have? So when I'm looking at these growth stats, this is just a huge deal to see any market potential of something to grow 10x, 50x, or over 100x, and the market size in 2023 also increased to over 8.8 billion. Some of my holdings are up a little bit, but I still have a variety of assets near their cycle lows. And there are a variety of networks where we're seeing revenue growth as well. And I ask myself every day, especially when I'm holding some assets that just don't perform, am I wrong about the future adoption of some of these public networks? But seeing recent news with Aberdeen with over $600 billion AUM tokenizing their multi-billion-dollar money market fund on top of Hedera, or the news with Casper and IBM with Brave AI that leverages Casper Network for AI governance. And they shared that they've had over 40 plus Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies sign up. And here's a quote I like: "We tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in the short term and underestimate the effect in the long run." The same goes for XRP after getting clarity this summer. So now let's dive into XRP. First up, we have Tony sharing an interview that he just did with David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, covering a bunch of information. They dive into a bunch in this one, going over Ripple, going over Medico, the importance of having custody and compliance with some of the biggest providers in the space, HSBC and the tokenization of deposits, discussing the AMM whenever this thing actually goes live, whenever the validators actually are in agreement, the evolution of stablecoins and CBDCs with even new foreign exchange corridors in the future. David also shares some new use cases discussing real-world assets, tokenizing securities, tokenizing carbon credits, and the convergence of AI with blockchain. The importance of getting highly liquid assets and stablecoins on the XRP Ledger DEX, or decentralized exchange, covering DIDs and decentralized identifiers that are absolutely huge for compliance on public networks. David emphasizes that there's likely not going to be one single network that can do it all, so interoperability is going to be very important between all these chains, considering the amount of scalability and throughput that is needed for a variety of use cases. He also covers a little bit about PolySign, but unfortunately he can't really comment too much. So be sure to go give this a watch if you haven't already. Tony's awesome, he's one of my favorite interviewers in the crypto space. Next up, shared by Generation Infinity, discussing decentralized identity or DIDs on the XRP ledger. So next week, they're going to have King Solomon and Darren interview the head of research over at RippleX. She is the author of XLS40 or DIDs on top of the XRPL. And I guess she is also the Security Area Directorate over at this organization, the Internet Engineering Task Force. So DIDs are extremely important for any network, and it's very important for the XRP ledger to have this feature. Decentralized identity, this is important for KYC and compliance, but also DIDs to even track other devices or IoT. So we also got news that the crypto exchange Gemini has added XRP perpetual contracts. So I'm not touching this. We know the founders of Gemini, they're not a fan of XRP. Looks like they're just adding this as another feature and seeing what community members are interested. And yesterday we got an update from PureSys Technology for the XRP ledger, getting closer to the launch of the long-awaited EVM sidechain or Ethereum virtual machine sidechain for the XRP ledger that they're building with RippleX. So we have the cross-chain bridge public amendment that has been published and they're waiting for voting. This sidechain is more advanced than ever after an audit with Bishop Fox. And here's the link for anybody curious where you can see the current DevNet validators and amendments. We have a new version of the bridge that's about to arrive, which will allow automatically and dynamically bridging any existing token in the EVM sidechain to the XRP ledger. And this will allow the EVM sidechain to be used as a gateway and connection to the rest of the EVMs and facilitate the transaction and use of all the functionalities of the XRP ledger mainnet. So this is a big deal. I wish we actually had this feature a few years ago. So feel free to check out this thread by PureSys to get more information and resources. We also have Brad Garlinghouse attending the Digital Asset Summit this March in London. So it definitely seems like a very large event, over 130 speakers and 750 institutions. Okay, now let's go into Casper. I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes, but we'll see what happens when I'm trimming this up at the end when I'm done recording, but I just want to cover as much info as possible. So first up, shared by Tokenizer, Davos Hub 2024, CNBC recently shared a publication on Davos's discussions around blockchain for AI training and governance. We can see Casper Labs' partnership with IBM has been covered in the CNBC article that we've covered before. Next up, super quick, I had a gentleman named Joe ask me about the Casper market cap. I have covered this a lot last year and the year before, but just drawing a 4.236 Fibonacci extension from that swing high of the bull run to the cycle low thus far. There's really been no huge change over the past year, just really stuck in this trend. But like we shared last year, I'm still looking at the 4.236 Fibonacci extension for Casper. This is where last cycle, Bitcoin, Ethereum, a variety of assets reached. And that's a market cap of approximately $2.4 billion. We go through and consider the current circulating supply, the total supply, and look at the market cap at $2.4 billion. I added this right there. For Casper to reach a 4.236 Fibonacci extension for its market cap, not its price, that would require a 20-cent Casper. And I'm using charts.cointrader.pro rather than CoinMarketCap because I don't really trust all that value in how they aggregate it. I would just rather see a price chart where I can actually see and go in depth. Just considering that area, that 20-cent zone, we have wicks up here, wicks right there, a wick right there. It's just this key level of resistance now that we would have to get to. During a bull run, that big zone of 15 to 20 cents is just kind of that huge level I would expect a retracement to, and if we can break through that, then I'll entertain an all-time high. Let's quickly go through the Casper price chart on the left and comparing it to ADA on the right, both on the weekly time frame, and talk about any concerns. We know ADA, from its all-time high price previously, crashed about 98.5%, all the way to the low under 2 cents. Hopefully you can see that. For Casper, I'm never using these crazy liquidity wicks on other exchanges like Huobi, so I'm really just measuring from the weekly candle bodies of 60 cents to its all-time low. Right, all-time low about 2.2 cents, we can see it crashed about 96%. Now, if you watch my previous videos under my Casper playlist on my YouTube channel, we've done a deep dive into the tokenomics, explained the private and public sale unlocks, and all of that is done now. The good news is over 95% is in circulation. The band-aid has been ripped off, but it has been a super terrible past couple years. The price performance has been horrible. But when you compare the circulating supply to other assets like HBAR, ADA, they still have a lot more in circulation yet to be dumped into the market in the future. And almost 70% right here of the entire supply securing the network. Meaning if we subtracted the amount that's actually stake bonded from the circulating supply is far less. The bad news is price action has been absolutely terrible, even down here in accumulation since May of 2022. It's been over 600 days where Casper is ranging between 2 cents to as high as about 6 cents or 6.3 cents. With ADA last cycle, until it broke into a new all-time high price, this took over 1100 days. The same number of days would take us into June of 2024. The concern is we haven't seen any big retracement, we haven't seen price action. Even last cycle, ADA actually showed a lot more strength over here. During this time, in this strong retracement, we did over 7x, 8x, 10x, into all-time highs. In comparison, the Casper price chart hasn't pumped at all from its all-time low, sitting about 80% up. So that's a concern. When you compare liquidity, we're not available on Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, some of the larger T1 exchanges. For Casper, we can see over 150,000 accounts, but how many people are actually delegating? Only 27,000. So even if we assume that we have about 100,000 retail holders in Casper, there are only 27,000 people that are actually delegating. Whereas when we compare it to other networks in the top 10, top 20, they have millions of wallet holders. So it's all about supply and demand, and bottom line, we just haven't had demand for Casper to move the price. I've tried guessing over the past couple years, each time Casper's at these levels to get that retracement to clear that first weekly fair value gap at 7 cents, we just haven't. So really, going over the Casper price chart between 2 to 6 cents for over 600 days. Hopefully if I stop talking about it for a while, maybe we'll finally get a move. Comparing retracement levels, Cardano just performed better, period, even going on the weekly candle bodies. Doing the same thing for the Casper price chart, swing high, swing low, as close as I can on the weekly candle bodies. Sorry if this chart is super messy and you can't see, but so far in accumulation, we got up here with candle bodies on the 0.59 retracement. This is the first retracement. ADA during last bear market, we hit these levels, crashed, retraced, and then even hit there again, and then finally got the pop up to the next retracements using this level as support. We're sitting on the 50-week moving average and the 21-week EMA right now. We need to hold this for support. We're going to go back down. Maintaining above this moving average and this EMA are super important for this trend to have a chance to stay bullish. Just like ADA fell back below this level during March 2020, revisiting the lows, and Casper's already done that at 3 cents multiple times. We're even under 3 cents back in September and October. So me personally, not financial advice, I'll be buying Casper if I ever see it go below 3 cents, but I'm hoping that we get a pop sooner or later. In terms of different market cap valuations, I have Algo's all-time high market cap, HBAR's all-time high market cap, and what the prices would be. And of course, we can compare Solana and Cardano to the leading layer ones last cycle. But at the end of the day, we are just trending sideways. We have had terrible price action. We have an open weekly fair value gap still yet to close. And the longer this goes, I'm even just starting to draw a fib from the 2021 swing high November when Bitcoin was at an all-time high price. There's really not much to say, we're just trapped in this range going back and forth like a game of ping pong in accumulation. And notice, even the 236 Fibonacci retracement is right at the bottom of that weekly fair value gap to the very wick. So we can still see this large weekly sell-side imbalance that is yet to be filled to the wick right along the 236. So I can't wait to see some actual price action. Good thing that Tau is pumping a little bit, but I just have a small position. I wish I went super heavy at the lows. And if you don't like Casper, that's completely fine, but I'm holding Casper for the long term for a variety of reasons. I understand that they're building their own virtual machine from scratch rather than leveraging the EVM like the majority of projects do. The type of use cases that Casper's building are absolutely massive, and if they get some success with any of these use cases, it could be huge, even if it takes a lot longer than what I expected for success. I'm holding and staking my Casper. If we go lower, I'm going to try to go in a lot and improve my DCA as much as possible. Even Tokenizer highlighting, and we covered this yesterday, all of the Nucleus Finance transactions on Casper's testnet. So we're seeing activity on the testnet of huge use cases. But I want to see activity on the mainnet to actually drive adoption and demand to Casper, the token, right now. Now let's finish up today's video covering IPW. I know this video is super long. Props to anybody watching all of this. I'm trying to include as much information as possible. So at the beginning of last year, in January of 2023, we got news from IPW launching the SIAM solution, or the SIAM solution, deploying 25 million patents. And this will represent, when it goes live, the largest enterprise blockchain NFT deployment in history. And they first developed this patents chain of custody solution back in September of 2022. So as they've said in interviews, this is leveraging the public network of Casper with $7 to $10 billion in aggregate value. Now, there's a lot of frustration with these delays, but I want to cover this now because I do think this is important. We first heard that they were going to begin minting in the summer. It didn't happen. Then they said on another podcast that I shared that it was going to be happening in the coming weeks, and then it didn't. And because of this, a lot of retail investors are upset, and many people are even doubting if they're still going to leverage the public network of Casper. And as more time passes, I've even wondered the same thing, so I asked Casper directly a few months ago, is this happening? And they assured me that this would happen and that this is not vaporware, where a company says they're going to launch something and then it never comes to pass. So they confirmed that it's happening, and Casper Labs, the professional service company, will be providing support to IPW throughout this minting process. I'll believe it when I see it, starting to see the first few hundred mints on the public network. So feel free to stay skeptical. On Casper's developer community call December 5th, you can look this up on Casper Network or just type in this title to pull this up. I haven't seen any recent updates besides this one last month. It's about deciding which patents to mint first and determining the crucial data that needs to be on-chain and in IPFS. Now, a lot of retail investors have no idea how big of a use case this is. This is minting $7 to $10 billion on Casper's public network used for security, so this is a hybrid deployment. For an interview last year of the CEO of Casper Labs with the X Frontier, they said that the company or each conglomerate will be minting their patents in batches. And previously, they included company names like Toshiba, Nike, and Koch Industries. The worst thing that they can do in this deployment is rush it, get it wrong, and make a mistake. That would be terrible for IPW, but also terrible publicity for Casper. So if they take a while and they launch this and still get this right, I'll be happy. And going to IPW's website, Casper is right on their website on their homepage as you scroll down right there, alongside Siemens Energy, Toshiba, IBM, Maersk, Hyperledger, Deloitte, etc. And for IPW, the last patent mint or the test mint was 1 month ago, so they're still testing every few months. And even recent news with Maersk and Siemens Energy jointly founding IPW's ESG Smart Pool. So we've shared in the past with Siemens Energy working with Casper. They've also spoken at Davos before, specifically about Casper. And Siemens Energy patent portfolio is huge, in the billions. So we're going to see if IPW begins the minting on the public chain this year, because it will be the CEP 78 standard, the newer one, not this old one. As of right now, and I'd really like an announcement from IPW. But IPW, I believe they're a private company, so as retail investors holding Casper, they owe us absolutely nothing. For the most part, this information should be confidential, so the best case is that they mint all of these patents in the future with success. That would be one of the largest public blockchain deployments in history and bring a lot more attention for enterprises to Casper. If it doesn't go through, that would be a huge bummer for Casper Network. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one, and I will keep you updated with anything I find. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.